Illinois' legislative session was supposed to be over yesterday. Instead, senators were back at it today. Amanda Vinicky is live in Springfield, where she has the latest. Amanda, long hours for lawmakers.
Better believe it, so pardon the bags under my eyes, Brandis. Lawmakers and journalists were here all weekend, even until 3 o'clock this morning. Even with that, however, they were not able to reach a deal on some major outstanding issues. So namely, a massive energy package that's been negotiated for years, an elected school board for Chicago Public Schools, but in just a second, we're going to get to some breaking news there, and also dealing with the state's gun licensing system. Hence, even after that late night or early morning into the wee hours today, senators have been back in the State House, as you said, all day. They really only got moving late this afternoon, and that was on the CPS school board issue. Just over an hour ago, Senate committee advancing a measure that would move Illinois to an all-elected school board by the year 2027, and then it would be hybrid until then, with the mayor, however, needing to get city council approval on some of her appointees. The measure also puts a moratorium on school closings. And just minutes ago, the Senate, on party lines with Democrats voting for it, Republicans voting against it, did advance that measure. Now, this, even as former state senator and the mayor's appointee as the president of the CPS Board of Education, that's Miguel Del Valle, says that he is concerned that this is going to lead to hugely expensive school board races, as it does in Los Angeles.
And it becomes a battle between labor, the unions, and charter schools and the corporate sector, a battle between the two. And so much money being poured into races means that the average person, the average parent who should be running for a school board seat gets shoved aside, pushed aside.
Now, Mayor Lori Lightfoot has been lobbying to try to keep her power to appoint members to the board, and her team has been involved, however, with negotiations for some sort of compromise. This version, though, not a plan that the Lightfoot administration is on board with. Lightfoot's deputy mayor for education said a 21-member board would be too unwieldy.
The city understands and acknowledges the history that propelled this bill forward, and we know that the status quo must change. We appreciate the legislative process, but we continue to believe this proposal has been rushed, and the bill is flawed in ways that could have grave consequences for our students.
Rush, because we did just see the first iteration of this particular measure today. Even so, it does have traction. Again, just minutes ago, passing in the Illinois Senate. And one of the holdups thus far has also been reaching an agreement between the Senate and the House. The House Democrat, that's Representative Delia Ramirez, who's been really negotiating with this, says that now that it has passed the Senate, she does plan to call it for a vote and work to get it through the House. Now, she may have that opportunity sooner than later because negotiations continue on that huge energy package that I mentioned. We're talking billions of dollars to support solar and renewable energy. And so that would support goals of heating off climate change, but also a lot of jobs are at stake. This measure also would phase out coal as an energy source. And then another big component is deciding how much Illinois will have residents pay on their electric bills to keep open several nuclear energy plants that Exelon is threatening to close because they're unprofitable. State Representative Dave Welter says a lot is at stake with the future of these plants.
In order for us to meet our clean energy goals, which is a priority of the governor and a priority of all the stakeholders, you need nuclear to get there. So closing those plants down would not be in the best interest of Illinois. It would not be in the best interest, ultimately, of the ratepayers, because if those shut down, prices will go up, and we won't be protecting those jobs. We won't have that base load capacity that is currently there. We may not be an exporter of energy, which we are today.
But all of this is tricky given, of course, that swirling corruption investigation with Exelon's subsidiary ComEd. There is this wariness to increase any electric rates on the company's behalf. And then also the latest holdup, a downstate power plant wants an exemption from when the rest of coal plants in Illinois would have to go offline by the year 2035. Now, Governor J.B. Pritzker has a lot riding on this. And here's his assessment of the situation as of this afternoon.
We have done everything that we can to stand up for clean energy principles, to make sure that we're expanding renewables in this state. I have set out my principle that I've stuck to those principles. And so, my hope is that we'll end up with a good energy bill. We were very close as of last night, and so I'm hopeful.
So some legislators talking about being back in the Capitol within coming weeks. Now, another issue that they could not get an agreement on is something that legislators from both Chicago and downstate say that they're getting more calls about than anything else, and that is guns. During the COVID pandemic, there has been a surge in individuals applying for the state-required license needed if somebody wants to own a firearm. That's called a firearm owner's identification card, or FOID. Now, part of the holdup is critics like State Senator Neil Anderson, who says that they are really trying to have an overreach with a mandate for fingerprinting for all FOID card applicants.
The only thing we're doing is we're creating more paperwork, more cost, and more headache for law-abiding citizens to practice what is enshrined in the Constitution and that says clearly shall not be infringed. But yet we keep adding on, and the only people it hurts are the people that are the good people.
So even though Democrats do hold those supermajorities in both chambers, well, there's a bit of crosstalk with the House favoring a mandatory fingerprinting for all FOID card applicants, and then the Senate favoring a more incentivized version in which you'd get your concealed carry or FOID card quicker if you agree to share your fingerprints with the state. So meanwhile, that is among the issues that is stuck in limbo. And we're going to talk a bit later about what all the legislature did do. There is a whole lot of that. So for now, Brandis, back to you.
Lots of folks looking forward to finding out that part. Amanda, thank you.